coming next.
On FM, online, on your mobile and on digital radio. Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 9 o'clock, Met Police say a jihadist from West London who's pleaded guilty to a series of terror offences posed a serious threat to the UK. Imran Khawaja from Southall went to Syria for 6 months last year. He tried to fake his own death before returning last summer. Commander Richard Walton from the Met's counter-terrorism unit says the 27-year-old was set upon becoming a terrorist.
He chose the path of terrorism himself. He wanted to fight in Syria. He wanted to align himself to terrorist groups. And in some of the images we've got, he's holding up the ISIS or Islamic State flag, and of course we've seen also this awful graphic image of him holding up a head in a particular video, the head of somebody who looks like they've been executed.
A lorry driver has been arrested in North London on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving after a cyclist was killed this morning. The woman in her 20s died shortly after the crash in Stamford Hill at 8 o'clock. The police say the driver has been released on bail. Further talks are to be held tomorrow to try and stop another strike by thousands of NHS staff in a row over pay. The Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt has met with officials from several unions. Workers in England and Northern Ireland are due to walk out next week. The barrister in charge of an inquiry into child sexual abuse has denied claims he bullied a member of the panel. Ben Emerson QC says the Home Office has already dismissed the allegations from Sharon Evans. She made the claim while giving evidence to the Home Affairs Select Committee earlier.
I felt he was overstepping his mark in terms of the advice and rewriting of letters, because I feel the independence of the panel is important. I said I would speak out if I felt that it was threatened.
A drama teacher who fathered a child during a 5-year affair with a pupil has been jailed for a year. 52-year-old Simon Parsons had sex with the 17-year-old girl at the school in South Gloucestershire. He admitted 5 counts of sexual activity with a child in a position of trust. Camden Council in North London has apologised to residents on a housing estate who've been without heating or hot water for more than a week. The authority says engineers will install the new parts tomorrow on the St Silas estate near Chalk Farm. This resident told LBC it's taken far too long to sort out.
We got no hot water, no heating, and I have children, they are young. One of them got cold already and cough, and she's suffering. I don't know what to do about it. We need urgent solution.
A further 300 jobs are being cut in the North Sea oil and gas industry. Around 100 onshore roles and 200 contractor positions are to go at Talisman Sinopec's base in Aberdeen. Last week, BP announced it was cutting a similar number of jobs. And the first game of this year's League Cup semi-finals is into its second half. Chelsea were 1-0 up a short time ago in their first leg at Liverpool. LBC weather, a cold night for London and the southeast. Some wintry showers spreading from the west, lows of -1 Celsius. Snow most likely across Scotland, Northern Ireland, North Wales and Northern England. Rain and sleet further south. Tomorrow, wintry showers clearing most areas to leave some sunny spells and highs of 4 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Simon Conway.
This is LBC, leading Britain's conversation. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850. The Health Hour with Dr Dawn on LBC.
And a very good evening if you've just tuned in. Dr Dawn is here with me, Clive Bull, between now and 10 for the Health Hour. It's your opportunity to get some health advice. You can call with your medical question right now. Dr Dawn Harper is our resident doctor here at LBC and a presenter of Embarrassing Bodies. Whatever your question, call now. 0345 6060 973 is the number. We'll also be talking about a medical milestone today, as doctors have performed the first ever organ transplants from a newborn baby in the UK. So that's the Health Hour, and your calls welcome right now and up till 10 on LBC. And here's a bonus as well. The lights are on, the cameras are on, and you can watch Dr. Dawn in action at the LBC website, lbc.co.uk.
That's a bonus, is it?
Oh, well, we're hoping so. So do flock to the website. Hello, Dawn.
Hello, good to see you.
Yes, good to have you here. And before we go to the calls, which are already ringing, let's talk about this medical milestone then. First ever organ transplants on a newborn baby in the UK.
Amazing, isn't it? So this is, and an amazing family, actually, because this is a little girl who was born very poorly, starved of oxygen, and doctors decided that she had been really quite severely brain damaged. Her heart stopped beating, and in that moment of tragedy, really, for that family, Mum and Dad had made the decision that they would allow her organs to be donated. And that little baby girl, her organs have gone to save somebody in kidney failure and somebody in liver failure. And just think about a 6-day-old baby, how tiny that baby is, and the size of those organs and the transplant procedures and the intricacy of the surgery. It is actually, even for me, and I've seen transplant surgery, I've been involved in it, I've been assisting in theatre, and I think it's quite mind-blowing, actually, what's happened there.
Yeah, and particularly for a baby as well. Such a difficult decision for the parents to make.
Yeah, it's an awful decision for anybody to make. And one of the things, I've worked in intensive care, and when we're making the decision to turn off a life support machine, turn that ventilator off, we are obliged to go and speak to the next of kin, to the relatives, and to ask about organ donation. And it is an incredibly difficult subject to tackle. You've got to be so sensitive about it. These are people who are dealing with ultimate tragedy, and you are then saying, and by the way, could we have their organs, please? And people do react very, very differently. And the debate goes on and on and on. Should we at the moment in the UK, we have what you call an opt-in system. So we opt in, we volunteer to donate our organs, and we can do that on our driving licence. There are some countries that have an opt-out system. So unless you actually actively say, no, I don't want my organs to go anywhere else, then you would automatically allow your organs to go for donation. And that, of course, means that you don't have those difficult conversations when somebody's in intensive care. But, there are arguments to and for, and it's an ongoing debate. We certainly in this country need more donors. There's no question about that.
And tell us a little bit more about what they did then in this particular operation. What was the procedure?
They took her kidneys and they took cells from her liver, and they gave them to different people. And of course, whenever you do something like this, you have to tissue match people, so you have to make sure. And in fact, her organs could have gone to a tiny infant, to a child, or possibly even an adult. And they will have given that person a completely new lease of life.
And have you had to deal with people who've made that decision? And is there any sort of positivity to it at all, that people can come away from it and think, well, some good has come?
Oh, absolutely there is. Now, it's very interesting because you can't dictate who you would like your organs to go to. You can't say, I will give my liver, but not to an alcoholic. You just say, I will give my liver. But I have seen so many relatives over the years, many years, who have said, actually, it was rather lovely to sort of get a letter. You often get a letter saying your organ has gone to somebody who is, a young lad who is now off of dialysis and leading life to the full. And that's an amazing thing. And for some relatives, that's a real positive out of the darkness of bereavement.
0345 6060 973 is the number here at LBC. It's the Health Hour. Dr. Dawn is here. If you've got a question, then call now. If it's a quickie, then you can email clive@lbc.co.uk, and that'll come straight through to the studio. And you can tweet at LBC. But the best thing to do is call. Don't be shy, 0345 6060 973, and then we can ask you a few questions as we go along. Sarah's in Tottenham. Hello, Sarah.
Hello.
Hi, Sarah. What can we do for you?
Yes, I'd like to ask the doctor something.
Go on.
Please do.
Hello, yeah. My daughter came up with a rash today, white, it looks like sort of a nettle rash, but she hasn't sort of been, just came in from school complaining about her stomach itching her, and she's got quite a lot on her body, these white raised spots. I want to know if it's just an allergy from a food. She didn't really eat anything different today that I can think of.
Okay.
That would come. I wonder if it's something which is urgent, I need to go to the doctor sort of quickly, or...
Well, a couple of things to ask you. First of all, Sarah, is she well in herself? Is she eating and running around and generally feeling okay? So that's a really good sign.
Yes.
The fact, if it looks like nettle rash, that is likely to be an allergy, but it isn't necessarily an allergy to a food. And if she's had a little bit of a cough or a cold recently, sometimes...
She has had temperature from... She was off school Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and then Monday I still kept her from school. Could it be something to do with that?
Okay, so she's been poorly and now she's feeling better, but she's got this rash.
Today,
That is probably something called a viral exanthematose, which is a rash that you see as the virus starts to clear the body. And if she is well in herself, it's highly unlikely to be anything to worry about at all. If it's very itchy, you can try some calamine lotion, you can try some antihistamine, which the chemist can give you. But if she's actually... in herself, she's getting better and she's had a viral problem, that's the most likely explanation.
OK, Sarah, thank you very much. LBC, the Health Hour, 0345 6060 973 is the number. And Mikey is in Hayes. Hello, Mikey.
Hello there, Clive. Hello, Doctor.
Hello, Mikey.
Hi there. Just want to ask a quick question on blocked ears. I seem to get them in the morning.
Just in the morning, and then it clears during the day.
Yeah,
Okay.
So it slowly clears up during the day.
So when you say blocked ears, what do you feel? Do you feel that your hearing's gone, or does it feel like you're very nasal and stuffy?
It feels like I can only hear myself, not the world.
Okay. The fact that it happens first thing in the morning and then clears through the day suggests to me that this could be an allergy to something like dust mite, house dust mite, and that you're finding that you're getting very stuffed and blocked up overnight, and then as you walk around during the day and you're out in the fresh air and so on, it clears up. Worth trying an antihistamine at night, worth chatting to your GP about possibly using some nasal sprays, steroid-type nasal sprays, which might help decongest you a little bit. It doesn't sound like anything serious. The fact that it gets better throughout the day is a really good thing. Also worth just taking a note, if you go away and you stay elsewhere, do you still feel like that in the morning? Is this something that's just happening in your house, or does it happen wherever you are?
Well, it's basically wherever I am. I've had it for a couple of months now, hoping it would go away, but it just hasn't gone anywhere.
Well, I would try those simple measures, and if those don't work, pop and see your GP. Maybe that you need some prescription medicines for a nasal spray or something like that, or you may need some allergy tests. OK, good luck, Mikey. It's a horrible thing having blocked ears. I've had that a couple of times. It's like having a bucket on your head. Yes, and you feel like you're hearing everything through a goldfish bowl.
Yeah, it's really weird.
The other thing I should just say to Mikey, if it's been happening just for a couple of months, this kind of thing can happen following a viral infection. So if you've had a bit of an ear, nose and throat type infection, you can get an excess of mucus production in the middle ear, and it can take 6 to 8 weeks for that to clear. So a good old-fashioned menthol steam inhalation might be worth a try too. OK, if you'd like to talk to Dr Dawn, she's with us for the Health Hour between now and 10, 0345 6060 973. It's your chance to get some advice instantly from our resident GP. Ahmed is in Croydon. Hello, Ahmed.
Hello, hi, evening.
Evening.
Hello.
Hi.
And what can we do for you?
Basically, my question, it just happened last week. As normal and as usual, I was making love to my wife, and after I came, I found out that basically there was a little bit of blood that was mixed with my semen.
Okay. Yeah.
And basically I wasn't quite sure what it was.
Okay.
It was the first time it ever happened, and sort of initially, I thought it was something really serious, and I didn't get to go and see the doctor. But basically, I was just kind of wondering what caused that, and is it really something bad?
Almost certainly not, Ahmed, OK? It's something called hematospermia, blood in the sperm, effectively. That's what we do all the time in medicine. We use long, complicated
the
words.
obvious.
Absolutely.
It wasn't mixed with the sperm at all.
Oh, it was afterwards. OK. All right. Well, it
was
could...
afterwards.
Okay, it could simply be just a bit of vigorous sex. We see it quite often. The other thing that's quite possible is sometimes you can have a small tear in the frenulum, the tiny piece of skin that attaches the foreskin to the end of the penis. And if that's the case, really it's a case of being gentle for a little while and allowing that to heal. And this may well be a once-off, Ahmed, and it certainly doesn't sound like anything sinister. But if it is continuing, it is worth seeing your GP, and they'll want to take a wee sample and do some tests just to check you out for infection.
So if it happens again, then it is worth...
If it's a recurrent problem, it's worth going back. But as a one-off, I'm not concerned.
Okay. And the thing is, it is one of those things that people might be embarrassed about taking to the GP.
And I would say please don't be. Goodness,
Yeah.
we see this sort of thing all the time. Blood in the sperm, in the semen, is very, very common, and often it's just a bit of over-vigorous sex or a bit of a little bit overzealous masturbation, and that will often cause it. So, and it's something we see very frequently. We usually send samples off to the lab just to rule out infection, but often we find it's just a little bit of trauma.
Okay, Ahmed, thank you. And there's a line clear now. If you have a health question, call 0345 6060 973. Dr Dawn is here between now and 10 on the Health Hour on LBC. I'm Clive Bull, and it's 9:15.
This is Adam Moore in the LBC Travel Centre. Starting with the Underground District line has minor delays between Earls Court and Wimbledon after a signal fault earlier. Southwest trains delayed by up to 30 minutes between London's Waterloo and Wimbledon because of the same signalling fault. Southeastern services disrupted between Slade Green and Crayford because of a train that's broken down. Eurostar still has delays of up to 30 minutes because of problems with that lorry fire in the tunnel at the weekend. Now, the A2, very slow earlier around Gravesend, eastbound side, had 3 lanes blocked. It looks as though the cars involved in this accident near Rootham Road have been moved now. Certainly all the queues have eased off. There are problems, though, on the M20, the southbound side towards the coast is shut at the moment for traffic management. That's at junction 11 for Hythe. So do expect delays. In the M6 northbound, West Midlands, a lane shut after an accident. Junction 10 for Wolverhampton. That's causing big queues. Keeping you moving, your next travel update is in half an hour.
This is LBC.
I was like most blokes, bothering dancing. You're having a laugh. I've given it a bash. Now I'm hooked. Mind you, all this gear doesn't come cheap. Still, Aviva saved me a few quid on my car insurance. Quality rhinestones didn't grow on trees,
5-star car insurance from just £185 direct from Aviva. And until the end of January, you could save up to 30% when you buy online at aviva.co.uk. 10% of new customers paid £185 individually priced. At least 10% of new customers will get 30% online discount. Standard cover minimum price applies.
118434. 118434.
What are you doing?
Trying to remember a number.
Do you want to borrow my pen?
118434.
Now there's only one number to remember. 118434. The handy number for handy numbers.
Calls cost 76 pence plus £1.53 per minute from a BT landline. Other networks vary and mobiles cost considerably more.
Who are you? What are you doing in my house?
Me? I'm the gas man.
What, 2 in the morning?
Yeah, I didn't want to be late, so I've come early instead.
Oh, OK. Why are you wearing a balaclava?
It's a new uniform.
Very nice. Are those my silver candlesticks?
Oh, no, sir. These are digital gas meter readers. Bzzz.
Sounds like they're working.
Yeah. Could you help me get this TV in the car?
Sure. Toyota, is it?
Yeah, it's part of the Yaris range. For only £9,995.
A Toyota Yaris from only £9,995? Do you take me for some sort of idiot?
Discover all the things that make a Toyota true value at toyota.co.uk. Conditions apply.
From north to south, the whole of a nation in the grip of the countdown, excited, impatient. Just skip to the shop or click on the screen and hold your breath till Wednesday evening. This Wednesday, it's a Lotto double rollover. Whatever your dream, Play makes it possible. Get your ticket now. Games rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
In business, it's important to be smart, especially when it comes to energy. That's why you should choose npower Business. We're doing lots of things to make energy work better for small and medium-sized businesses like yours. We're offering a choice of a fixed or variable plan. We're installing smarter metering for accurate billing to help with your budgeting. And we're resolving telephone queries QuickSmart with 90% of customer service calls now answered within 1 minute. After all, time is money, so don't waste yours. Visit npower.com/smart today. Simple and clear, the way energy should be.
At Wix, we refuse to be beaten on price. So, we match our red pencil prices to the lowest everyday prices of our leading competitors. Like our 10-pack 100mm by 1.8 metre feather edge fence board. £10.98 each when you buy 5. That's the red pencil price, covered by our price promise, and it's got our name on it. Wix. Price beaten on equivalent product within 10 miles. Excludes sale and promotional prices. T's and C's apply. Visit wix.co.uk.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Tomorrow morning from 7 on LBC.
Yes, don't miss Nick Ferrari in the morning from 7 here on LBC. Right now it's the Health Hour. A reminder, by the way, we have expert advice every night at 9. The Money Hour on Monday. The Health Hour with Dr Dawn on Tuesdays. Tomorrow evening it's the Legal Hour, and Barrister Daniel Barnett will be here to answer your legal questions. And on Thursday, the James Caan Business Show, where we look at the business news. And you can ask James for some business advice. 0345 6060 973 is the number if you'd like to join in with the Health Hour right now on LBC. And here's Stuart in Kirkcaldy. Hello, Stuart.
Hi, my friend.
Hi, Stuart. Oh, that's strange. That
Stuart.
line, I think we'll come back to Stuart in a minute. Sophie in Chigwell. Hello, Sophie.
Oh, hello. The doctor has found blood in the urine, but no infection, and the laboratory test showed 3 cells on the first stick test, and the next week it showed 40 cells. Is this sort of normal for a 70-year-old lady, or might it need investigation?
OK, Sophie. Do you know why your GP was dip testing your urine in the first place?
Well, I went to her with a specimen because I was just having a little bit of urgency.
OK, all right. It is very common to find what we call microscopic hematuria. What that means is a bit of blood in the urine which isn't obvious to the naked eye, but that we can pick up when we lab test it. And some people have microscopic hematuria all the time, and there is no specific cause for it, and it's of no concern. One of the things that we do know is that sometimes it is associated with infection, and that's why your GP sent it off. And sometimes it can be associated with other problems, so problems with the bladder lining, problems with kidney stones and so on. So I suspect, actually, Sophie, it is probably nothing to worry about, but it is important that it's monitored. And then if it progresses, you may need some other tests just to look into those other possible causes.
Oh, I see. What might the other tests involve?
It would depend what happens next, but so you'd need a urine sample sent off to the lab, which it sounds like you've already had. It may involve having an ultrasound test of the kidneys and the bladder, looking for any stones in what we call the renal tract. It may involve having a little look inside with a telescope under anaesthetic, looking with a telescope into the bladder just to check the health of the bladder. But I wouldn't worry yourself too much about that at this stage. What your doctor will want to do in the first instance is just to keep an eye on that, see if it clears up. If it persists or get worse, then they may want to do some more tests.
OK, Sophie, thank you very much. LBC, and I think we've got Stuart back now. Hello, Stuart.
Hi there, how are you doing?
Hi, what can we do for you?
Right, I have my daughter who's actually 19. From the age probably of 17, a couple of years ago, she's been... she can just be sitting quite casually, and then occasionally she'll have a which I can only describe as a big twitch. She'll be sitting quite calmly, and then she'll just jump quite violently now and again.
Okay.
It only seems to happen if she's stressed, or possibly if she's under duress or something like that.
Okay. And does it happen when she's very tired or just sort of nodding off to sleep?
I think it's possibly when she's tired as well.
Okay. I mean, it may well be that there are two things going through my mind. There are two things going through my mind. One is that there is something called Ekbom syndrome, which is generally twitchy legs, but you can twitch anywhere. And it often is worse at night, worse when you're tired. And you just get these involuntary spasms in the muscles, which can be quite distressing, but they're not a worry, other than that really quite unpleasant. And it is worth speaking to your GP. There are all sorts of different things that we've tried to try and reduce those spasms. The other is, Stuart, if they're happening as she is dropping off to sleep, there is something that's called hypnagogic movements, and it's something where when people are just starting to drop off to sleep, they suddenly jerk and they have these involuntary movements of their limbs. Neither of those things are a concern, other than they're quite unpleasant. So I think if it's hypnagogic movements, if you think it's when she's falling asleep, that is completely natural. It's one of those things that happens. If it is more related to when she's tired and stressed, it may well be something called restless legs or ECBOM, and worth chatting to your GP about the treatments available.
OK, Stuart, thank you very much. 0345 6060 973 is the number. Dr Dawn is here for the Health Hour on LBC, and Charlene is in Holborn. Hello, Charlene.
Hi, Clive. Hi, Dawn.
Hello.
I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller. I just wanted to say that I have two jobs. I work nights and I work days. My night shift can involve working from 8 p.m. until about 3 in the morning, and my day shift can start between 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's not every day, it's about 4 days a week. However, when I do go home, I sleep, I wake up in the afternoon around 3 o'clock, and I'm so tired that I can't even get up to do anything. And even if I had a long sleep, like 8 or 9 hours, I'm so knackered, I'm just sleeping. I don't have the strength to get up and cook or do anything. And my family and friends are worried that I could be anemic, I could just be lacking of iron or vitamins. I'm worrying myself.
I have to say, Charlene, I think the most likely explanation is you are working some crazy hours and you are probably chronically sleep deprived. So if you're working until 6 in the evening, you say, and then you're going to work again at night and working through till 3 in the morning, and then you're getting up in the morning, you're not
getting enough sleep.
You're not getting what I would call battery recharge sleep. And okay, so maybe you do that for 4 or 5 days and then you've got a couple of days off, but that probably isn't enough. Cumulatively, you are exhausted. Absolutely, things like vitamin deficiencies, iron deficiency, thyroid problems, diabetes, all sorts of things can leave you feeling tired all the time. But my first port of call for you would be that actually you are just exhausted, because I bet you bottom dollar you're also trying to run a home. Do you have children as well?
No, I live with my mum, so that we share the bills.
All right. Well, I think you're probably just exhausted, and I know it's easy for me to say something like, can you rearrange your working week? But I think you're probably working just too many hours in one day.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I've got to say, Charlene, as soon as you told me about those hours, I was thinking, my goodness,
let's put it the other way
manage?
around. Exactly. Let's put it the other way around. If you came to me and said, I'm doing this day job and this night job, and I feel great, I'm full of energy, I'd be going, really? Well, whatever you've got, let's bottle it, because we'll all be millionaires, because you are working very, very hard.
But clearly, Charlene's worried that it might be something else underlying.
Do you know, when people come and see me in surgery, Clive, and honestly, I'm tired all the time is an incredibly common presenting complaint. So much so that if you type into an NHS computer, TATT, it will come up with tired all the time.
Yeah.
And what I generally do is I do run a battery of tests for exactly the sort of reasons that Charlene is worrying. So we rule out the physical causes. Now, generally speaking in the NHS, if I do a blood test and I'm expecting it to be normal, I will tell you that I'll call you if it's abnormal, because we've got such pressure of appointments. It's the one time when I say to people, come back and see me and we'll run through the blood results, because it gives me an opportunity to say, right, we've ruled out all these physical problems. Now, let's have a chat about stress, maybe mild depression, because actually the beginning of depression can present as just feeling fatigued and tired all the time, lacking motivation. And it gives us an opportunity to explore things a little bit deeper. And occasionally we do come up with a physical problem. We do some blood tests and go, do you know what? Yes, you are low on iron. But 9 times out of 10, it's more down to lifestyle and stress.
And certainly with the sort of hours that Charlene's doing, your gut feeling.
So, if you are really worried, Charlene, if you came to see me, I would run some tests just to put your mind at rest. I would expect those to be normal, but it just rules that out for you. And for some people, actually, having those normal tests is enough to give them a little bit of a boost. But I would say that you really are working ever so hard, and if you possibly can afford to or find a way around rejuggling your week, I think it would be much better for you.
Okay, Charlene?
Days. I have like 2 days off, so that is good. Sometimes 2 or 3 days, but it does make sense what you're saying.
Yeah, you're stoical.
Thank you very much for your
You're
help.
stoical, Charlene.
Yeah, well done. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the call. LBC, the Health Hour. Quick question here from Steve, who says he's had a bit of a gagging issue for the last 10 years or so. Basically, whenever he tries to brush his teeth,
Okay.
unless he leaves it till later in the day, it just makes him gag.
Okay, the gag reflex is a reflex. You can't control that. So, and some people have a much more sensitive gag reflex than others. And actually, what Steve is saying is very well recognised. All of us have a slightly more prominent gag reflex first thing in the morning. So actually, he's probably found his own way around that. You're not going to stop your gag reflex. It is there to protect you. It's to stop you from choking and swallowing things that you shouldn't swallow and all the rest of it. So actually, it's a reflex. It's there. You're not going to stop it. He's found his way around it. Absolutely, just clean your teeth a bit later in the day.
Nothing you do about it. He says people have told me to pinch myself or squeeze your thumb, but it doesn't help.
No, a gag reflex is there as a reflex. It's completely unthought about. It's something that goes underneath your conscious. And if any of us were to put something far enough down the back of our throat, we would gag. That's what happens.
OK, if you've got a question, then there's a line clear now, 0345 6060 973, and you can also email clive@lbc.co.uk. Dr Dawn Harper is here on the Health Hour. Call us now. If you're quick, you'll get your question in, 0345 6060 973. I'm Clive Bull, LBC News Time, 9:30. And with the headlines, Lindsay Kinghorn.
Government sources say the Chilcots inquiry into the Iraq war will not be published until after May's general election. The inquiry was set up in 2009 and took evidence from its last witness in 2011. Met Police say a jihadist from West London who's pleaded guilty to a series of terror offences posed a serious threat to the UK. Imran Khawaja from Southall went to Syria for 6 months last year. He tried to fake his own death before returning last summer. A lorry driver has been arrested in North London on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving after a cyclist was killed this morning. The woman in her 20s died shortly after the crash in Stamford Hill at 8 o'clock. Police say the driver's been released on bail. And the first game of this year's League Cup semi-finals is into the second half. Chelsea are 1-0 up in their first leg at Liverpool. LBC weather, a cold night for London and the southeast, turning cloudy with outbreaks of rain, lows of 2 degrees. A similar forecast for the rest of the UK, although rain, sleet and snow heavy across parts of Wales, central and northern England. Tomorrow, cold with icy patches at first, highs of 4 Celsius. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Lindsay Kinghorn.
This is LBC.
Good day, sir. May I help you with your bags? Presidential suite, I assume.
Oh, no.
The King Executive, very good, sir.
No, actually,
Deluxe Executive, still exquisite.
No.
Which room are you in, then?
The conference room.
Ah.
I'm here for a meeting.
Look premium in the Passat GT from £249 per month. Take a test drive at your local retailer. The new Volkswagen Passat, as advanced as you are. Hire agreement for business users only. Price excludes VAT at 20% with a deposit payable.
Our best ever winter sale is now on, with fantastic deals on selected phones, plans and accessories. Don't miss out. Visit vodafone.co.uk/sale or visit us in store today. Vodafone. Power to the savvy, power to you. Sale ends 2nd of February 2015. Terms apply. Pay monthly plans subject to credit check.
At Wix, we refuse to be beaten on price. So, we match our red pencil prices to the lowest everyday prices of our leading competitors. Like our 1800 by 900 by 12.5mm Knauf plasterboard square edge. £4.19 when you buy 5. That's the red pencil price, covered by our price promise, and it's got our name on it. Wix. Price beaten on equivalent product within 10 miles. Excludes sale and promotional prices. T's and C's apply. Visit wix.co.uk.
118434. 118434. 118434.
What are you doing?
Shh. Trying to remember a number. 118434.
Do you want to borrow my pen?
Brilliant. Thanks. 118434.
Now, whenever you need a number, there's only one number you need to remember. 118434, the handy number for handy numbers.
Calls cost 76 pence plus £1.53 per minute from a BT landline. Other networks vary and mobiles cost considerably more.
The Health Hour with Dr Dawn on LBC.
I'm Clive Bull and this is the Health Hour. Dr Dawn Harper is here if you've got a question for Dr Dawn. 0345 6060973 is the number to call. And we're going to go to Valerie in Hertfordshire. Hello, Valerie.
Hi, thank you very much for taking my call.
OK, what can we do for you?
I have been suffering from PCOS for a number of years, and I'm 44 now, and I'm struggling to keep my weight down. I don't know what else to do anymore. Okay. And I'm working shift as well, night shift, day shift. Mm-hmm. I've got no appetite, and I don't have the energy neither to do exercise.
Okay, Valerie. PCOS, that's Polycystic Ovary Syndrome. So what you have got is a slight imbalance of your hormones. It's a relatively common condition. And women who are suffering with PCOS have slightly higher levels of testosterone than other women. I think it often surprises women to know that we have any testosterone, but we do. And one of the things that is absolutely so common with the condition, Valerie, is that women with PCOS do find that they gain weight more easily and they find it more difficult to lose weight. So I do empathise with you for that because it is difficult. That said, the symptoms associated with PCOS, so things like unwanted facial hair, acne, period problems, fertility issues and so on, all of those things actually improve if you can lose weight. Now, we know it's more difficult for you too, so we appreciate that's an issue. There is actually a diabetic medication that we use, something called metformin, that we can give you to help you to lose weight. And you will find that you'll feel more energised, you'll feel generally better if you can get that weight off. Has anybody ever talked to you about metformin?
I have been prescribed metformins before, but I'm a kind of a loop. They would give me metformin if I lose the weight. As I can't lose the weight, they're not giving me metformin because of my condition. The other symptoms that I have, I'm moody, I'm tired, I cry for no reason, slightly depressed. And when I mentioned to my doctor, she said to me, that's not really a disease, it's symptoms.
Okay.
And I feel that I'm not being understood.
No, okay. It sounds to me like the weight is definitely a feature of the PCOS, and I think the depression and the low mood and so on is a secondary thing, and it's not uncommon actually, Valerie. I see it quite often because if you're struggling with your weight and you're feeling a bit miserable and a bit down and you've got low self-esteem, the whole thing just sort of snowballs. I would go back, take somebody with you if you need to, write down how you feel, ask again about metformin because metformin can help people to lose weight when they've got PCOS. And I think, it's a case for you, you're kind of spiralling down and you're feeling really low about everything. And if we could actually just help you to lose some weight, that would make you feel more energised, it'd make you feel better about yourself, and it might start to improve your mood. If it doesn't, then there are things that we can do to help you with that as well. But I think I would go back. If you really aren't getting on with one particular doctor in the practice, it's okay to go and ask another doctor. That's all right. I mean, generally speaking, what we do is we do like to encourage people to stick with one doctor for one condition because you then haven't got to go back to square one and explain everything all over again. But if you feel that you're really hitting a brick wall, maybe even have a word with the receptionists. There may be a particular GP in your practice who's got a bit more interest in women's health, for example, or hormonal issues, and it might be worth popping and seeing that doctor and just explaining that you really are. Tell them exactly what you've just told me, Valerie, and you will get some help.
OK, thank you very much, Valerie. If you've just tuned in, it's the Health Hour on LBC. Dr Dawn is here. And by the way, you can watch Dr Dawn in action by going to lbc.co.uk. We've got the lights on, the cameras are all...
Fireworks are coming.
Yes, my goodness. So just go to lbc.co.uk, or if you want to see the whole thing from the beginning, then that will be on YouTube later as well. Let's go next to Tony in Islington on LBC. Hello, Tony.
Are you alright, mate? First time caller.
Well done. What can we do for you?
On Saturday, I felt a bit ill, and then the whole day going to be sick, but I didn't throw up. And then Saturday night, I noticed a lump on my groin. And then I went to the doctors on Monday because it was redness and it felt a little lumpy. And then testing, I got cellulitis.
Okay.
And then they stuck me on antibiotics, kept me in for a little bit, but let me go home. And they done ultrasound on me, and they said I'm all right. But they seemed a bit unsure, and I'm only 25, and I haven't got diabetes or anything. But they was unsure why I've got it.
Okay. Cellulitis. It's basically an inflammation of the skin, usually caused by a bacterial infection. And yes, you're absolutely right. It is more common in older people, but it can happen to anyone. And if you've got our skin is covered in bacteria. And if you've got a tiny cut in your skin and the bacteria get in there, they can present a focus of infection, and that can become very red and inflamed, and it sounds like that's what's happened to you. Interesting that you talk about diabetes, because yes, in a younger person we would want to double check that there isn't a high sugar level, which is meaning that the bacteria have got a good place to kind of thrive, and that's why you're more prone to infection. So it's good that you haven't got diabetes. The fact that you're only 25, yeah, it is more common in older people, but it's not uncommon, it's not rare. Important that you take the full course of antibiotics though, all right, Tony, because what will happen is over 24, 48 hours you'll start to get better. If you then don't take the full course, we do sometimes run the risk of finding that what happens is you get a recurrent infection, and that infection might be more resistant to bacteria. So take the full course of antibiotics. Hopefully you will then be totally well and you don't need to worry about it anymore.
Okay, Tony?
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Nothing to worry about really then.
No, I hope not.
Keep taking the antibiotics.
Yes, always, and I know people get confused about antibiotics because we are forever saying please don't use them inappropriately because we don't want to develop widespread resistance. It's one of the problems that we have sometimes with things like MRSA and C. diff. These are infections that are resistant to a lot of the antibiotics we have available. But in an individual, if you then only take a part course, you do run the risk of the bacteria in your body becoming resistant, and then you have a problem because you've developed a resistant infection. And
we made it worse.
Exactly.
Right.
So take the full course.
Simon in Cheam. Hello, Simon.
Hello. Good evening. I'm a bit of a quandary at the moment. I've got a back difficulties, spinal difficulties. In 2009, I had to have spinal decompression after an injury, and fortunately, it did sort of go in the right direction. I managed to get back to work. And anyway, just recently things have been getting worse again. Unfortunately, I've had 2 RTCs, road traffic collisions, where somebody's been, they've been at the back of my car. And anyway, I've been offered by one hospital a spinal decompression, and another hospital they've offered me a facet joint injections, and I'm not quite sure which one to go to.
How come you were seeing 2 different hospitals, Simon? How did that come about?
Well, the thing is, I'm under the Queen Square for the facet joint injections, and that's where I had the original spinal decompression, and that was L1, 2, and 3. And just recently, I've been getting symptoms on both legs, sort of tingling, and it's been really painful everywhere. And it's between L3 and L4. And through.
But why were there 2 hospitals involved then?
Because the insurance company from the RTC.
Ah.
Oh, I see.
Right. Okay.
All right. Okay. It's always a problem, actually, when you get 2 opinions. We always used to kind of slightly joke amongst ourselves as doctors that if you get sort of 20 doctors in a room, you'll get 20 different opinions. Now, of course, generally speaking, we do agree, but you will get differing opinions on what to do. And it is a problem for people when they have a second opinion to then know, right, what do I do? For you, Simon, what I would say is that you've been through 1 spinal decompression. That is a relatively... Well, it's a significant procedure, isn't it? Whereas a facet joint injection is a much minor procedure. And I think if I was you, I would be inclined to opt for the joint injection first, because if that doesn't work, you've always got the option of going for the more definitive procedure.
That makes sense to me. Simon, I hope that helps with your dilemma. Thank you very much. LBC, the Health Hour, and Joseph in Detroit. Hello, Joseph.
Wow, North America.
Yeah, hi Joseph. What can we do for you?
You're very welcome.
Thank you. My child is my son. He's 4 months old now. He was born quite big. He's about, I think he was 9'4". But the doctors are worried he's not gaining enough weight. My wife's getting a lot of people telling her that she should start feeding him solids. I'm wondering what your thoughts were.
Okay. He's being breastfed at the moment, is he?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you say he's underweight, what I always think with little ones is a one-off weight is all well and good, but it actually doesn't give us the full picture. And one of the reasons why we weigh babies sequentially is that what we're looking for is the way they are developing. So if a baby is a little bit underweight and actually stays underweight, but on the same curve on the graph where we plot them, then they are consistently just a small person. If they start off, and it sounds like this might be the case with your son, Joseph, if they start off quite a good weight on what we call a good centile and they're dropping off consistently, then that's something that we call failure to thrive. And there are so many different causes of that. One can be that they're just simply not getting enough nutrition. And if your wife is struggling, he's had 3 months of we say 3 to 6 months is a really good thing to do for our babies in terms of breastfeeding. He's had 3 months already. If he needs a top up of formula milk to make sure that he's getting an adequate intake, that might be a reasonable thing to do. If the doctors are really concerned, they will be looking into other possible causes as to why he's not thriving. But I think the first thing I would do would be to look at his diet and his nutrition.
Right. Well, he's quite a tall baby. I think he's 25.5 inches.
So when they plot him, Joseph, they will plot his length, and they'll probably also plot his head circumference and his weight. And do you have, in North America, do you have graphs which have got sort of 3 or 4 lines that show what is the normal range?
I think they do. I wouldn't know for sure.
In the UK, we have something called the Red Book, and we plot kids on these graphs. And it's actually very simple then to see if a child is not following a normal line but falling off that line, that actually they are what we say failing to thrive. So I would certainly, yes, it's really important you follow this up. My first port of call would be his nutrition.
OK, Joseph, thank you. We'll take more calls in a moment. The Health Hour here on LBC. Dr Dawn here taking your calls. 0345 6060 973 is the number. LBC, I'm Clive Bull and it's 9:45.
This is Adam Moore in the LBC Travel Centre. Still some delays on the trains tonight. South West services delayed by up to 30 minutes out of London's Waterloo to Wimbledon because of a signalling fault. South Eastern services disrupted between Slade Green and Crayford because of a train that's broken down. The Eurostar still has delays of up to 30 minutes at St Pancras, Ebbsfleet and Ashford International. That's because of the lorry fire in the Channel Tunnel at the weekend. On the roads, M23 very slow at the moment as you head southbound from the M25 through the roadworks down to Gatwick Airport at Junction 9. The M25, the lane shut both ways for barrier repairs between Sevenoaks and Godstone, Junction 5 to Junction 6. In Kent, the M20 remains closed southbound for traffic management at Junction 11 for Hythe. And in Staffordshire at Featherstone, Cannock Road, that's the A460 shut at the moment after a lorry jackknife. That's closed between Moseley Road and the M54 at Junction 1. Keeping you moving with more travel through the night.
This is LBC.
James O'Brien on LBC with cyberstreetwise.com.
It was bread and circuses that the ancient Romans used quite literally to keep the plebs in their place. So what's the modern day bread and circuses? Sofas on interest-free credit and celebrity Big Brother?
James O'Brien, weekday mornings from 10 on LBC. Keep your business secure online with cyberstreetwise.com.
There's something wonderful about walking in winter. Cold, crisp air, the first frost underfoot, and my favourite bit, coming back to the warmth of home.
With £400 off a new boiler in the British Gas Winter Warmer sale, you can keep your home cosy all year round. And with our fixed price guarantee, the price we quote is the price you'll pay. So to get £400 off a boiler, call 0800 754 754 or visit britishgas.co.uk. Offer ends 28th of February. Conditions apply.
I was like most blokes. Ballroom dancing. You're having a laugh. But I've given it a bash. Now I'm hooked. Mind you, all this gear doesn't come cheap. Still, Aviva saved me a few quid on my car insurance. Quality rhinestones didn't grow on trees, you know.
5-star car insurance from just £185 direct from Aviva. And until the end of January, you could save up to 30% when you buy online at aviva.co.uk. 10% of new customers paid £185 individually priced. At least 10% of new customers will get 30% online discount. Standard cover minimum price applies.
Good day, sir. May I help you with your bags? Presidential suite, I assume.
Oh, no.
The King Executive, very good, sir.
No, actually,
Deluxe Executive, still exquisite.
No.
Which room are you in, then?
The conference room.
Oh.
I'm here for a meeting.
Look premium in the Passat GT from £249 per month. Take a test drive at your local retailer. The new Volkswagen Passat, as advanced as you are. Hire agreement for business users only. Price excludes VAT at 20% with a deposit payable.
From north to south, the whole of a nation in the grip of the countdown, excited, impatient. Just skip to the shop or click on the screen and hold your breath till Wednesday evening. This Wednesday, it's a Lotto double rollover. Whatever your dream, Play makes it possible. Get your ticket now. Games rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
Coming up at 10 on LBC, Duncan Barks.
Britain is becoming a more European country, according to former Prime Minister Sir John Major. He says that there has traditionally been an unenthusiastic portion of the population who regard themselves as being British but not European. But this feeling will fade with each generation. But you tell me, is British identity under threat?
Leading Britain's conversation, Duncan Barks. This evening from 10 on LBC.
Duncan will be here at 10. This is LBC. I'm Clive Bull, and it's the Health Hour. Dr Dawn is here to answer your questions, and we're going to go to Tom in Palmer's Green. Hello, Tom.
Hello, Clive.
Hi, you're through to Dr Dawn. Yes, what would you like to ask?
For the last 3 months, I have a heavy discharge from both nostrils for about an hour in the morning.
Okay. And is that a clear discharge? Is it mucousy? Is it blood stained?
Oh, it's very heavy. It's very thick.
Very thick?
Thick, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
And are you otherwise well in yourself, Tom?
yes, I am, yes.
Okay.
I have no complaints.
There are a number of possible explanations. The most likely thing is either you've got polyps in your nose, and that can cause quite a lot of mucus discharge. And as that clears out, it builds up overnight, and as it clears out during the course of the day, you feel a little bit better. The other thing is, and it's something we mentioned earlier in the show tonight actually, is whether you're allergic to something like house dust mite, which means that when you're in bed overnight, you're exposed to more of the house dust mite, you get this slightly allergic reaction, and you start to produce more mucus. Once you're up and about and out in the fresh air, that tends to settle down. What I would do in the first instance is certainly I would try an antihistamine from your pharmacist. If that doesn't work, then it's worth seeing your GP. They'll want to have a little look up into the nasal cavity. They'll use something called an oroscope, actually, the thing that we normally use to look into your ears, and they'll just look up into the nasal cavity to see if they can see polyps up there. And if they can, they may be able to reduce those with some steroid nasal spray. If they can't, then it may be that you need a little operation to remove them. But I would certainly try the antihistamine first. If that doesn't work, pop and see your GP.
OK, thank you, Tom. Moona is in Ealing on LBC. Hello, Moona.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you.
How are you, Moona?
I'm all right, thank you. I have a question. Basically, when I was about 9 years old, I was improperly touched by a relative. And ever since, I did not disclose that information to my family or my parents. And recently got married, and I find it impossible to get closer to my husband, and I can't get intimate with my husband. That has psychologically has an impact on me. Having disclosed that information to my GP, do you think that is there anything that I can take or that can, so that I can become a normal functioning person?
Of course there is, Moona. The first thing to say is, does your husband know? Have you had this conversation with him?
No, he doesn't know.
No, okay. If you can, Moona, try and tell him. It makes it much easier for him to then understand, because all he will be feeling is a degree of rejection, and that can then cause tension in your relationship. So, not necessarily in bed, but perhaps in a quiet moment when you're together out of the bedroom, just if you can, try and have that conversation with him. Did you say that you have spoken to your GP, or if you did, could he or she help you?
Should I disclose this information to my GP? Because my GP doesn't...
No.
They're not aware of it.
No, okay. I think if you can find the courage to do that, Muna, that would be really helpful. You're not on your own, and it's a conversation that I've had, sadly, several times in my consulting room. And your GP can do things to help, because what you probably need is what we call psychosexual counselling. You've been traumatised, and you've got deep-found fear of being intimate for very obvious reasons. But that doesn't need to be a lifelong problem. And with a bit of professional help and patience and understanding between you and your husband, there is absolutely no reason, Muna, why you shouldn't have a very happy and fulfilled sex life. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take you some time. But your GP can help you. If you'd rather discuss that with a female doctor, you can ask to see a female doctor. You can take somebody with you if there is anybody that you've confided in other than us. And I think you're fantastically brave, actually, to have mentioned that here. You know, that it's a big deal. And so having made that step, you really have made the first step to getting better. And please do make that appointment. If there is a particular doctor that you want to see, wait for that doctor. It may be that you may not be able to get that appointment this week, but you've come this far. It's been a long while that you've lived with this secret, and it's best that you see the right person and take the help. And honestly, I promise you, I have seen so many girls who've been through awful things like you and have really come through it and are very happy and very fulfilled, and there's no reason why you shouldn't be the same too.
OK, good luck, Muna. Thank you very much for that call. LBC, the Health Hour. We'll go to John in Berkshire. Hello, John.
Hello.
Hello, John. What can we do for you?
Well, I had some piles, and I went to the doctors, which were very mild, and gave me some cream for them. But I've been left with something just below my anus, which is a lump, which is recurring. It sometimes is fairly large, and sometimes it goes down. Okay. And I'm a little bit worried about it.
Piles or hemorrhoids are like varicose veins around the bottom, and we do treat them in a number of different ways. So in the early stages we can treat them with creams and pessaries. Sometimes we inject them, sometimes we put little bands around the base of them so that they shrivel up and drop off, and sometimes we actually have to do an operation to remove them. Now it may be the lump that you're noticing is another pile, in which case it may be that needs something a little bit more definitive doing to it. It could be that it's a skin tag. And sometimes we very frequently see skin tags that form around the anus, and those are of no consequence. They're not a worry, but if they're really bothering people, they can be removed too. So I think I'd pop back to your GP and see them. In the meantime, if you're prone to hemorrhoids, anyone who's prone to hemorrhoids, really important that you don't let yourself get constipated, because straining to have your bowels open is what makes hemorrhoids worse. So try and make sure that you've got plenty of fruit and fibre in your diet, keeping the stool slightly soft, making sure that you're not straining to stool. But I think the most likely explanation is that this is either a recurrent pile or a skin tag.
OK, John, thank you. Let's see, we've got a couple of minutes left. We'll see if we can squeeze in Sue in Croydon. Hello, Sue.
Oh, hi. I keep getting a really hard, big swelling on my face, on sort of my jawline, and it comes up every few weeks, months. It's really big and hard, and then it just goes away.
Okay. That sounds... Is it sort of quite smooth when it comes up? It's got quite a smooth surface to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like you're getting a recurrent cyst, and you can get cysts in hair follicles and in sweat glands in the face. What I think you should do is try and see your GP when it's big. If you can't, take a photograph of it and take it in to see your GP. And it may be that you need to have that. If it's a recurring problem and it's quite large, it might be that actually that needs to be removed. The other thing is sometimes they get infected and they can get quite red and sore, in which case you may need some antibiotics.
Okay, but there's nothing red on the skin or no spot or anything.
No, so in which case it's probably just a cyst. It's probably a sebaceous cyst is what we call, is the most common cause, okay? And they're not a problem, they're not cancerous, they're not nasty, but if they're quite large and they are unsightly and they're worrying you, we can remove them.
And so, sorry, I've had one before, but I didn't know. So could it be on the inside then? The cyst of my mouth, because it's like on my jawline under my ear, down one side of my face.
On the jawline behind the ear, it doesn't sound like that could be in your mouth. That's a bit too far back to be. Is it sort of? Is it visible on the skin?
No.
So you mean under the skin?
Like a blocked gland. That's the only way
I
could
just wondering
describe it.
the other
a huge
thing.
swelling.
Okay, the other thing I'm wondering about then, if it's inside, sometimes you can get a blockage in the salivary ducts. So as soon as you eat something, you produce saliva. But if there is a blockage there, what then happens is the saliva swells up behind and can cause quite a large swelling behind. And it might be that you need a little operation to just open that duct up, if that's the case. Difficult without seeing you, to be honest, Sue, but that might be a possibility.
OK, Sue, thank you very much indeed. And we are out of time. Dr. Dawn, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening, and thank you for watching as well. If you were switching on and watching the Health Hour, that's at lbc.co.uk. And if you've missed it, you can still see it by going to our website. And Dr. Dawn will be back with us next week.
I certainly will.
Now, don't forget that you can listen to LBC whenever and wherever you like. You can download the LBC app, or there's TuneIn Radio.